Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Kaki, and today I'll be showing you my personal interpretation of Chapter 3, also known as Wing Attack on R. And here's, when I first watched the scene, the chapter, I started sketching real quick just to get an idea of what I wanted to see in each scene, what I wanted to include, and this is the idea for my cover. The first inspirations came when we had a conversation about how soldiers often have to obey to their orders without having to question them. So I really wanted to show that during this scene when they receive the order and they're kind of just going their way for the bombing. I decided to show three people, three of the pilots with a wire connecting their brains. So I started by showing three really stylized bodies. But then I went ahead, and this is my process work, and I thought that it would be a cool idea to show the soldiers as kind of machine-looking characters, because not only does that spoil every sort of character to them, making them look completely equal to each other, but it also makes me think that humans basically without conscience are no more than machines, and I want to kind of show that in my interpretation. So you see, I added some detail. That's EDV11. All the brains are connected to that, which is the code name right there. So I tried with some background color, but I realized the color was way too calm for the setting, which was a very, there was tension. So I tried to change the color into a yellow. And I was quite happy with that, but I decided to change that again and try to actually invert the colors. I thought the red background worked perfectly to give that tension and that bring the attention to the scene. So I just added some detail afterwards, and this is how I got to the general idea of what my concepts were going to look like. So we move on. This is the sketch for the first scene. I just wanted to show the plane flying, and this is how I reached the concept of the plane. Now, since the movie takes place in the Cold War, which is known for technical innovations and the arms race and stuff, I wanted to show kind of this very mechanical look that looked somewhat comical. It was a combination of comical, functional, but at the same time rudimentary. So you can see I added some wings to make it look like a hybrid. So then I tried to place it in space. Added a white sun there and a yellow background to make it look like there was actually light coming from over there. And then I tried to play around with the placing of it. Just different versions. I added those crescents there to make it look like it was actually radiating, but I wasn't really happy with that. So I changed it back, and ultimately I stuck with this one. That's the final version. But then I realized that it actually looked too much like a setting and not enough like a scene, because there weren't any characters in it. So what I did is actually split it up in half, adding the characters looking out from the window, from that same window over there. But again, it didn't quite look right. So I just put it up horizontally, and I tried different placings, but I realized that at the bottom the characters were too squished down, so I eventually stuck back with the original. Moving forward, this is the second scene, and that's where they receive the order. Now I wanted to show them looking at whatever they were receiving there, the order, but I realized that was too repetitive to actually place the three characters again. So at first I just stuck with one character looking at a big screen, but again, that didn't really show what they were looking at. So I tried to play around with something a little different. I had a character in the foreground and played around with this mirror effect, kind of bent the words around and mirrored them to make it show that he was looking at that right there. And this is actually to show how I build up my scene. And I'm not a big fan of contour lines. I think they're a little distracting. So I really play around with negative shapes. Then I play on red, that then deletes parts of the shapes to create more complex forms. And this is the final one, added some detail on the top. Moving on, final scene. This is actually the scene where Major Khan gives his motivational speech to the troops. And I wanted to reimagine that as well. And what I did is, again, to play around with that idea of the machine, instead of giving a motivational speech, he's actually physically inserting those cables that you see in the cover, kind of to connect their minds, put them in the mindset of the code that they have received, and actually bringing them to do what they're supposed to do. So this is a concept of how I build up a guy sitting on the chair of the plane, and this is the scene I designed. Now you see this is Major Kong. I added him like a megaphone mouth to show his really loud attitude, and the hat to make him more characteristic from the others. And so that was my final scene. And I stuck with this because I really liked the the blank spaces here as opposed to actually adding all the 3 pilots. I thought it dragged more, it made it more crucial to what was happening over here. So this is actually some character design, just to show how I build up my characters. And this is my final first scene, final second scene, and final third scene.
You say you did a lot of things right here. I think the foremost is that since you were a later project, you had a lot more time to work on it and really think about it, and it shows in your work. Whereas I haven't seen it in a lot of these later presentations that the presentations are getting better because we're farther away from where we started. So I like it in that way, and also too, you really, really went into depth and thought about, instead of just making it a, kind of a picture, you made it a scene. And I appreciated in the first slide when you changed it just from the plane to an actual scene. That really helped you out a lot, and I think it was a good move.
All right. Anyone else? Yeah.
Your project is very different from everyone else's, and I really like that, because you show the sketches, and the color choice, I really like it.
Yeah, I think you did a great job taking us through your thought process and kind of showing us how you asked yourself questions along the way of how you can improve it or what's changed about it. I think you had a lot of thought throughout to make a more concise presentation, so good job.
The only critical thing I can think of right now is in the first scene with the split. When I saw the guys staring out the window, my first impression was they were looking up at the sky, at the sun or something. I don't know if you could make it more apparent that they're in the ship or not.
Oh, you mean because of the circular nature of the window
Yeah,
space?
it makes it look like
Oh, right.
they're looking into the sky.
I don't know if you could stretch that oval a little bit or not. I didn't have that experience because of the sequence you took us through, I was recognizing cloud, and so therefore I put that as the background of the sky. But yeah, I can see
Right.
confusion.
If you use an octagon shape for the window.
That would work, yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that, yeah.
Mhm. Although it's a nice shape having a smoothing there against their heads. I think this is just really extraordinary. You broke one little rule, which is not to use the actual letters or any kind of text, but you were pretty stuck as far as the code. And I appreciate the fact that at least you used created a kind of font for it that wasn't too exacting. And I really like the way you had it mirrored in the one face there. The colors are, is a very good choice for the kind of message here of what's going on. I personally didn't mind this when it was slashed corner to corner, but I do appreciate the fact that you look for what you consider to be the best balance and the best composition overall, and I can see why you went where you were. It's true, I think, that what Ben said first, and very important, that you did pay attention to everything all along. As you saw that one thing went wrong with something else, or that people had broken rules, you were very careful to get it right here. And it's a delight. It's really very good. I also think that you do know the names of the people here. And I don't know why you didn't call them people by name, but I know that you worked to learn the names of your classmates, so I'll try to give you a bit of a pass on that. Anything else? Very good.